Welcome to 365 Ujima. Here we know that community is not an abstract idea. It's who brings the meal, who drives you to your appointment, who checks on your children, who prays when the diagnosis comes, who stays. Ujima means collective work and collective responsibility. It is the understanding that none of us are meant to carry life alone. Each month we'll gather in 4 ways. On the block, we'll witness neighbors building care systems that rarely make the headlines. On the future, young voices will tell us what health, safety, and belonging looks like in their world. On the legacy, elders will offer memory as infrastructure and wisdom as blueprints. And on the porch, we will sit together and name what all of it means. We will ask what responsibility this moment places on us. We will also speak honestly about health disparities in Black communities, about prevention, about screenings, and about resources, not with fear, but with power, because information shared is power multiplied. This podcast is not about perfection. Oh no, it's about participation. It is about remembering that care is not just personal, it is collective. And when community becomes care, care becomes our power. This is 365 Ujima. Let's begin.
Hey, and welcome to the Porch. This is episode 4 of 365 Ujima. So the last couple of months we've been talking about a number of things, the block, uh, the future, and of course the legacy. Or we talked with the women on the block, the younger voice, and also the elder wisdom to kind of get a feel for a number of different concepts, especially in Women's History Month, where we take the time to remember the responses and the life experiences and how other people um, are able to uh, show those patterns. And so, kind of, I encourage you guys to look at the patterns that we had so far, um, and then, of course, use those to kind of identify what this says about women as archetypes of care in Monroe. Perfect timing. We have our speaker today, or our person today, Brandon Victorian. So today we'll kind of talk with him for 15 minutes and get move on. Brandon, how are you doing?
Good. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much. So if you would help me, so you're Brandon Victorian. Uh, Tell us about yourself if you don't mind. Who are you? When did you start weightlifting? Is it 2023, 24, and 25 powerlifting champion?
Yeah, so I, yeah, just for some background, born and raised pretty much in Monroe, Louisiana. Lived in New Orleans for a couple years. We moved back after Hurricane Katrina hit. And so went to, elementary school, junior high, high school out in Monroe. Graduated in 2014, went to school at TCU, graduated from there in 2018. And then for a couple of years, I mean, pretty much all throughout growing up, kind of just was in some sort of sport or like worked out or was in some space of fitness. And it wasn't until 2020, like right at the beginning, I started to work with my coach, Chris. And before that, I was just doing CrossFit for fun and then got on program with him. And then he convinced me to compete. And then that was like right. Like he convinced me to compete. COVID happened. Everything shut down. Ended up just working out with a buddy in his garage because my coach loaned out some equipment to him. And we did that for about 6 months. And then right around that time, everything started opening up again. And then in October, competed for the first time. And the rest is kind of history. Yeah, I started doing nationals the following year and then started doing some more national meets. Got to compete for uh, like USCW is the governing body for like the US for weightlifting. But got to do that for the first time in 2022. We got to go to Cuba. And then, yeah, in 2023, that was my first time I got to go to, I guess that was my third time competing at nationals. And I won the first time there for weightlifting or the sport of weightlifting. And then one in 2024 and then this past year in 2025.
Cool. let me step back. How are you doing? I'm sorry. Right there.
No, I'm good. I know we kind of got it thrown into things, but I'm doing all right. Kind of just been hanging out on this Sunday, so
Cool.
not too bad. How about yourself?
Good on you. I'm doing well. Thank you. Yeah, I haven't done too much either. Kind of just been looking for things to do. So this is great. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
Um, are you still a CrossFitter too, or do you kind of just do
No,
maybe?
I pretty much just focus fully on the lifts.
Okay.
Maybe once I'm done doing that, I'll dabble back in CrossFit, but right now it's just kind of one. I'm not really a big runner, and so like that little
Yeah,
aspect of it, I'm
that'll
like, if I
get
don't
you.
have
Huh?
to, if I don't have to do that, I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Cool. All right. So what other goals do you have in terms of powerlifting or anything else? Do you have any other goals that you want to fulfill in life?
So I guess to kind of, well, a quick correction, it's weightlifting. So
Sorry.
powerlifting is like squat, bench, deadlift.
My apologies.
Weightlifting
Yeah,
is
I
not, no,
got you.
you're all good.
You do the
Um,
the scary stuff. Got it.
yeah, I do the scary stuff that like, I've seen some videos this past week of people about to lose their
Yeah.
heads, but it's safe if you do it right. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, so we do the snatch and clean and jerk.
Mhm.
I guess my current goals, I have a meet coming up at the end of April, the Pan American Championships. So the goal there is just to increase my total and get on our NTP, which is our national team program.
Mhm.
And that's pretty much just a system that the U.S. has for funding for athlete support, kind of that whole shebang. You have to qualify to get on that. So that's kind of the goal. And then the next goal from there is if I get that total, then I'll be qualified for Worlds later on this year. So that's kind of like the short term goals. And then I guess just over the next 2 years, just seeing how far we can make it throughout the Olympic journey, the Olympic process. You know, it would be sick if I got to go compete at the
Yeah.
Olympics in 2028. But right now, the goal is just to have some fun with it and see how far we can go.
Awesome.
And
Yeah.
then, yeah, I guess outside of that, career wise, I'm an inside sales engineer, and I just started with a new company called Tubasing early last year. I actually just hit my 1 year anniversary a couple of weeks ago. So really just trying to get my feet under there, kind of make some more connections, and kind of, I guess, what's the right word? I guess like really hone in, my knowledge of the company and people that I work with, and kind of just
Gotcha.
support them as best as I can.
Okay.
Outside of that, that's kind of the main. That's usually on the main dashboard as I walk through day to
Yeah,
day. Yeah,
I got you. All right. Congrats on the new job.
I appreciate
Um,
it.
no problem. So, I don't know if you knew, but this month we've kind of done a lot of, or Lisa's been doing a lot of stuff with Women's History Month, talking to
Mhm.
people, the younger generation, the older generation. So, kind of wanted to get your opinion on a couple of questions, the women in your life and how they've done things for you. So, I guess the first question would be, for you, who were the women who helped shape your discipline when you were growing up, or even now, who are the women that helped shape you and your discipline?
Yeah. Um, I mean, I'd say like probably 80% of the women that I was, or like family members that I was around growing up were women. Whether that's my mom, my grandma, a lot of my mom's cousins. Um, like it felt like just all of the women that kind of took care of everything. Like they were just all family and they were always around. And so I think at the most personal level, my mom and my grandmother, um, I got to spend a lot of summers and just a lot of time in general with my grandma. And so she kind of instilled like, I don't know, this sense of just like owning responsibility and kind of taking care of what's mine, whether that just be picking up my spaces around the house whenever I stay over there, or making sure I'm staying on top of grades, or like just making sure that I am kind of doing, keeping myself accountable, kind of in the more gentle, like loving grandma kind of way. And then not to say like it was the opposite of my mom, but definitely she had a large hand in just keeping me on track in life, because she was my mom. So when things got off track, it was her job to discipline me. She did a very good job at it. And that just kind of looked like, in sports, playing football, like I knew I had to stay on top of grades, or like stay on top of extracurriculars if I really wanted to go do the thing I wanted to do the most, or whether that be, being able to enjoy my evenings and weekends when I wasn't doing another sport or doing work. If I wasn't on top of those things, she would take away, the game. She would take away time with friends, and not in the manner that it was like, this big disastrous thing. But I mean, it was just like that placeholder that she had to say, hey, listen, like looking back at it now, like it created the stepping stone of you have to take care of the small things first in order to enjoy the things that you want, in the present, or to set yourself up for success later on in the future. And so I would say those were the two, like growing up, that really just shaped, the discipline and my attitude towards my goals and just how I go throughout life in general. And my mom for sure is still playing a big role in that today. But it's been cool to be around women in the sport of weightlifting. I think they kind of provide a different view, just like as athletes that you don't really get to see. Like growing up, you're kind of always in the male locker room and you kind of get to see your guys, but men just have different brains and they're all wired different. And so some of the ladies that I've gotten to see, like they're pretty resilient and like they have a lot of things that they have to worry about whenever they're training, or like, whether that be just the natural hormone cycle and like how they push through some of those things that they have going on. Or like, I know a lot of women who have kids and families and they're still getting after it. And like they're being resilient and finding the way to make time and, push for their goals, even while they have other responsibilities that they have to worry about. So that's been pretty cool. And I think that's kind of just like constantly shaping, like, and like rewiring my brain as to like what women can do, and like how physically they can be strong, but mentally. And just, I think it just kind of hones in on the fact that like women are just cool and they have like this, they can have this huge mama bear energy, but also still just be like savages and take care of their own. But it's just kind of nice to see them be vulnerable in some of these spaces as well. So it's been cool.
Awesome. Sweet. Okay. So for you, in terms of your own health, how do you protect your own health while when you weight lift or when you're striving for excellence? How do you protect yourself?
I think there's a lot of facets to it. I think the most obvious is just recovering, whether that be like getting physical therapy work done, massages, stretching, all that stuff. I think when I stay on top of those aspects of training, I feel the healthiest. I mean, that even includes like eating right, sleeping right. I can't really be up until like really after 11 p.m. If I'm trying to recover and
Yeah.
train hard the next day, or if I had a heavy session, that night or that evening, and I'm like, all right, I have to eat and I have to like wind down, go to bed. I can't be up too late because
Mhm.
it just starts to compound. And, if you let that lack of sleep compound, it'll add up and that's where you're more susceptible to injury. But vice versa, if you sleep right, take care of your body, you get to stack your days and you can see the progress, kind of add up over time. So that's like the low hanging fruit, if you will, that some people struggle to get to. But like, I don't know, it's such a, if you, and everybody has their own circumstances, but like if you can rein that in, like it just elevates kind of whatever you have going on in life, even if it's your studies, if you're getting sleep, like it's a lot easier for you to be cognizant in your classes or while you're studying or even at work, like whatever you have going on. So I think that's like step one. And then after that, I think it's just kind of being mindful of where you put your mental energy. And that could be a myriad of things. So like I try to not be too distracted when it comes to like social media and games and movies, and like I think all those things are fun, and like I think you need to have that outlet in some cases. But I think it's, especially in today's day and age, super easy to kind of get lost scrolling or like going on a rabbit hole or like conspiracy videos, and you just kind of, it's easy to get this overwhelming sense just from the world, and it's like, all right, like there's a lot going on, but you also can't solve everything and you can't fix everything. You also don't need to know everything. And so I think sometimes it's healthy to just kind of unplug and, be with friends, go work out, like go for a walk, go do something that just takes your mind off of things. Even if it's like playing a mindless game for a bit, like I like to play chess a lot. So that kind of keeps me just like like it's not like super demanding, but it's nice to just kind of put the brain into a different task that is challenging. But it's not necessarily, you know, overworking your, I guess, your nervous system. And so that's those are some things that I just do to kind of keep me healthy, if you will. And then just kind of, I think, on a larger scale, you know, when things pop up, I try to get it checked out, whether that be like your teeth or I need to go get my eyesight checked. But like, you know, anytime there's like an aching pain or there's something that I'm like, oh, I should get that checked out because you just don't know. I think kind of being responsible there. And I think just kind of taking care of your long term health, just because I have friends now who, you know, they have diseases pop up, or I had a friend recently, she found you know, a tumor in her mouth. And so she had to go get that checked out. And so I think it's just being proactive because you just never know what might happen. And the sooner you catch stuff, the easier it is to deal with it. The longer you wait, then, you know, sometimes it can go, you know,
Yeah.
negative direction. So I think it's just being diligent in terms of that. So I guess that's kind of the three, you know, big pieces of making sure I'm taking care of my health, you know, throughout the years or whatever.
Awesome. I appreciate you bringing up the health focus because we'll come back to that. But for now, one more question for you there. For you, what does strength mean beyond the weights?
Mm, I think for me, I think it's being like mentally sound. And like when I say that, I think of like, okay, it's so easy to kind of go to the gym and flaunt and try to be strong and lift the heaviest weight and whatever. But I think when you maybe emotionally stable, like I think those two kind of go hand in hand. Where you know when things pop up in life, whether it could be something as small as just like a very unexpected outcome for a task at work, or it can be you know something happening with a family member, or if you're dating somebody, like something happened with their family or something happening within that relationship. I think having the emotional ability to kind of handle those things and not let your world crumble in front of you, I think is a different strength that's important. So for me, it's not necessarily. I think the discipline that comes from the gym can stem to some of those things.
Sure.
But I think that like being able to just be grounded and know that like, hey, like this might be something that might rock my world, and like that's okay even if I feel like overwhelmed for a second. But like who can I go to like talk through these things? Like who are some of my other friends, my mom, whoever, that can kind of put me back on a grounded path and like just you know calm down and assess and handle the situation. I think having the maturity to recognize you might need help is a certain strength that some people struggle with. So for me, I think being able to, like I said, just be mentally and emotionally, like not necessarily always under control because things happen, but I
Mhm.
think a solid 90% of the time for me, that's like what true strength is just being vulnerable and being able to lean on other people
Yeah.
because you can't do everything on your own, you know. I don't even train on my own. Like I have a coach
You're
who
right.
programs everything for me. So like,
Mhm.
you know, I couldn't be where I'm at in any aspect just on my own.
Yeah, absolutely. That willingness to ask for help from others is really important, and in showing that strength. And then even if you're in the gym, I was watching some of your videos recently, but having the people around you, the people working out around you, kind of
Mm.
the atmosphere itself is something that can even give you a little bit of extra strength sometimes.
No, for sure.
Um,
Like having a solid group of dudes to train around, like it's way different when you're kind of solo in there.
Mhm. Absolutely. Cool. All right, so back to the health focus. So this month, one of the things we were talking about was colorectal and kidney health. So, what would you say to women or people who put their own health last?
I mean, kind of what I said earlier, like
Yeah.
you kind of got to just take care of yourself and not necessarily in a selfish way, but I think you have to recognize that for most people, especially if you're a parent or a sibling, or even if you just have family and friends who just care about you, like you don't want them to, one, you don't want to worry. And so you kind of want to be able to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. But two, if you have people that are dependent on you, I mean, for me, it's like I would like to make sure that I can be able to show up for them in whatever capacity they need. And I can't do that if I'm in a hospital bed because I waited too long to do something. Like life happens, like I said, and so there's some things that are outside of your control. But but when you can take care of what is within your control, I think you are able to create, just a certain system and a certain um, reassurance to the people that you have around you that you're going to be okay and you can support them, but also vice versa, that they are able to support you whenever times go wrong. And so I think like that's just a part of life is making sure that like you are good because you can't diminish your own health. Like health is wealth. People say it all the time. And if you're not taking care of yourself, eventually you might get burnt out at work, you might get burnt out in the gym, you might get burnt out in a relationship. So like being able to just take, even if it's not anything like huge, like a cancer or a massive disease that you have to take care of in life, but just being able to take time to yourself and like have a chill day or a rest day, like it's huge because like I said earlier, like life can be heavy and the world can be heavy, and sometimes you got to just give yourself the time to relax and just
Mhm.
have a day. Some days, like
Absolutely.
last Sunday, I had a day. I didn't do anything. Like it was nice. I threw my phone across the room, and I was like, I need to just recharge. And tomorrow, the world will be there. I
Yeah.
can, get back to work, get back to the gym, get back to friends. But I need time to just be to recharge. And even if you're an extrovert and you think being around people recharges you, I still think it's a good idea to just have some time to yourself to
Yeah.
where you can fully recharge.
Absolutely right. I agree. Sweet. With colorectal cancer and kidney health, one of the things that's really important is hydration. So, how do you hydrate or stay hydrated throughout your week?
Dude, I have to force myself to drink water.
Yeah.
I like, I try to go through, I literally have one right here, like two or three of these smart water bottles a day. I
Is that
release
like
like that much amount of
27
water.
ounces or something?
Let's see, 33 ounces. So a
33?
quart. I think you're supposed to do like something like a gallon a day, I think.
Somewhere around
Which
there. Yeah.
yeah, I'm pretty sure by the time I finish up with like my middle of the workout drink and post shake, and then like two of these. And technically, I've been told you can count coffee, but
But yeah.
but it is a diuretic, so I
Yeah.
don't put too much stake in that. But by that point, I probably consume that much in liquid. But yeah, I mean, for me personally, I know that if I have a clear, whatever container, I'm a lot better at drinking. There's just something about
Yeah.
having a bottle that I can't see it. I just forget. And then I'm like, oh snap, I didn't drink. But like if I see it, I'm like, like that's an empty yet. I gotta.
Mhm.
It's like an attainable goal. It sounds
Yeah.
crazy maybe, but it's just like you can still see the goal, and it's like, all right, let me just finish drinking that water. And then you see it's empty, then you'll get more water. And so yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I know a lot of people have those giant jugs with the little markers on them that say some sort
Hmm.
of motivational message. Those work great for a lot of
Yeah.
people.
I
So,
tried that for a while. But yeah, it just that didn't quite work out for me. I had like this big one, and then I think I ended up smashing it at the gym because of my weight hit it, and I was like, it's maybe I just need something that's a little more compact and out of the
yeah,
way. But
makes
yeah,
sense. All right, cool. All right, here's your last question. So, lifting tip for the month. Any tip that you might think would be helpful for a recreational lifter, an amateur lifter, or someone trying to get at your level?
yeah. I think I'm not gonna say the easiest, but I think the most practical one. I guess I'll give two. Like one is taking the time to actually learn how to move, aka technique. I think your technique's going to go a lot further than the weight you have on or however like much you're pushing, whether that's running, yoga, lifting, especially. I think that's just going to prevent injury the most if you're taking the time to do things right. And that's one of my favorite sayings: do it right, do it light, do it wrong, do it long. You get an injury, you'll be out for a while. So the longer you can stay healthy, that's the longer you can stay in the game or whatever you got going on. And then I think for new people, um, I think people who've been in the game for a while, they kind of know this, But for newer people, it's tough to not see progress, or like they'll see progress really quickly and then stall, or even some people just kind of don't see it right away. I think the biggest thing is just being consistent and showing up every day. Again, you need rest days though, but say it for a week. If your plan is to do, 4 to 5 days a week, like show up. I think it's easy to kind of get discouraged, or like things happen, or somebody wants to go to a happy hour and yada, yada, yada. Like every once in a while to miss a workout, not the end of the world. But if you keep letting it drop off and you only go once a week or maybe twice a week, if that's your plan, that's in your schedule, fine, stick to that. If that's all you can do. But even then, I think it's still like finding a way to be consistent and keep showing up. That's where progress happens. And if you only work out once every 3 weeks, there's a chance that you're probably not going to find progress within that. So I think it's just setting a plan and being disciplined, but also not being discouraged when you derail from that plan. Just getting back on the horse and getting back to being consistent.
Absolutely. All right. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you. Thank you, Brandon.
Yeah.
I think we're already running out of time with Zoom, so we'll
Okay, cool.
wrap it up here, and then talk to you later. Yeah.
All right, sweet.
Appreciate you, man.
Of course, I appreciate you. Have a good rest of your day.
You as well. Take care.
Bye.
This is 365 Ujima, where community becomes care and care builds our power. Have a good one, everyone. See you next episode.
The lawyers say we have to say this.
The content is for educational and informational purposes only, does not constitute medical advice or a doctor-patient relationship, and is not a substitute for professional diagnosis or treatment. We urge listeners to consult a qualified healthcare provider for any health concerns. The opinions represent those of the individuals and not their organizational affiliations.